Treasury single account. Federal government collects 10 trillion naira from ministries, departments and agencies. Central Bank of Nigeria mobilizes support for textile industry. External debt servicing gulps $357.26 million in 3 months. Plus OPEC maintains 3.2% growth forecast. This is Business Express reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. And I am Leah Kating Baba Tunde. Let's begin the business for the day. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed that the production and personalization of all Nigerian e-passports and related documentation shall be the sole responsibility of the Nigerian Security Printing Minting Company (NSPMC). A statement from the presidency says with the new directive, all existing memoranda of understanding and contracts on printing by other institutions and companies will not be renewed. The Mint, as a Nigerian security printing minting company is popularly called, is the largest banknote and security document specialist printing company in West Africa. However, its performance rapidly dwindled in terms of both currency production and security documents. This new development is hoped will inject vigor into it. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has urged service chiefs as well as chief executives of paramilitary organizations and other agencies to support the ongoing initiatives by the Apex Bank to revive the cotton, textile and garment industry through the patronage of locally manufactured uniforms. The CBN governor says the Apex Bank already had the mandate of President Muhammadu Buhari to ensure that all uniformed services and theatre wares in hospitals and medical facilities are sourced locally from the Nigerian CTG sector.
I want to produce to export. Let's even produce for our own market. Let us produce to create job in our own country, so that the level of unemployment, the level of youth restiveness can come down.
Since 2015, the Show Minister has ensured that all our uniform requirements are sourced locally.
The dollar steadies as strong U.S. inflation tempers chance of aggressive federal rate cut. Let's now see how much the naira is exchanging for the currencies. Now, since the start of the implementation of the Treasury single account in 2012, The federal government has collected more than 10 trillion naira from 1,674 ministries, departments and agencies. The TSA initiative, which is one of the public finance management reforms, led to the closure of more than 20,000 bank accounts belonging to MDAs. Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, disclosed this in a presentation on Thursday in Abuja at a peer review mechanism of MDAs to the head of the civil service of the Federation.
We shall continue to make you proud in the discharge of our onerous responsibilities of entrenching transparency and accountability.
By the time we conclude the mop-up on the HR module verification, we are going to find a much huger savings that will arise for government.
The Office of the Accountant General of the Federation says it will continue to engage with all agencies outside the Integrated Personnel and Payroll Information System IPs as the deadline for the total adherence to the presidential directive draws near. This is in line with ongoing reforms in the public finance management system. It is against this backdrop that it brought together national executives of staff unions comprising ASU, NASU, SANU and NAT on the enrollment of federal universities into the payment system. The meeting availed participants with the opportunity to share their concerns and arrive at a common front.
I would say from the non-union perspective, the interactions continued and we reached this level, which is now being placed before the unions to get their honest comments, which will be discussed.
To seek your cooperation to achieve a seamless enrollment in compliance with the presidential directive, which is geared towards transparency and accountability for good governance. Because we cannot afford to toy with our system. More especially, that is why this interactive session is being called. Because there's a presidential mandate that by end of August to September, any MDA that is not on IBPS might not get funding from the federal government.
The Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) announced the amendment of the draft on the operating framework for the transmission of shares from a deceased to the beneficiary in a bid to reduce rising unclaimed dividends amounting to more than 70 billion naira. The SEC in the amendment draft said the Commission has reduced timelines for the transmission of deceased shares from 3 weeks to 1 week to encourage beneficiaries of the deceased investors step up efforts to claim such dividends. Nigeria's first professor of capital market, Uche Walike, joins us now to look at the topic capital market regulation and unclaimed dividends. Office of the Chief Economist of the SEC. Welcome to Business Express, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's get this conversation started now. What is happening to unclaimed dividends?
Well, as you rightly pointed out, the amount of unclaimed dividend is still huge, but the Commission is doing so much to bring it down. And one of the measures the Commission has taken is what you just mentioned, reduction in the time it takes to transmit shares from the deceased to the beneficiary, from 3 weeks to 1 week, and a major stride in that effort has to do with the e-dividend policy. Of course, the e-dividend makes it possible for dividends to be paid directly to the shareholder, as opposed to the use of dividend warrants. So the e-dividend has gone a long way in reducing the amount of unclaimed dividends that we have today. And I also remember that in recent times too, the Commission has been encouraging even the shareholders of the defunct Skybank, to go to a particular registrar, for purposes of claiming their their dividends.
Okay,
so all these measures
can I just come in here? How aware are the investors of all this? How aware are investors?
Yes, as I speak to you, sensitization efforts are going on. The Commission has been embarking on, together with some other stakeholders, embarking on sensitization measures. Regularly, asking members of the public, to go and claim their shares, because if you can't claim your share, it's difficult to talk about claiming dividend. And one of the things the Commission has done is to encourage people with multiple accounts, to come and regularize them and consolidate them into one. As I speak to you, about 2.6 million, account holders have registered for e-dividend, and many are testifying that they are getting their dividends, promptly, unlike previously.
Okay, so let's understand this now. If someone with unclaimed dividends approaches the registrar and his or her problem is not being addressed, what is the next step the person should take?
The good thing again is that there is a complaint a framework the Commission has also put in place, in order to ensure that investors get attended to, promptly. So once you approach a registrar for your dividend to be paid, and you have reason to complain, you can always contact the Commission for that to be resolved.
Okay, so now we've seen the capital market not performing so well. In fact, it's been on a very, very low side. Does it have something to do with regulation, or what exactly is the picture?
Well, on the contrary, regulation has significantly improved. It's more to do with the fog in the economy. Is a market. By the way, when you say capital markets, when we say capital markets is on the decline, it's more of the equities segment, because the bond market is relatively doing well. What is happening now is that investors, because of the uncertainty in the system, are rotating their investments away from equities to fixed income. So you find the bond market doing well, and the one way to confirm that is to look at what is happening in the FMDQ. Whereas today, the NSC All-Share Index year-to-date return is down by 9%. On the other hand, the FMDQ year-to-date return, FMDQ trades fixed income. Out of, if you look at their monthly market reports, okay, market turnover for FMDQ with respect to bonds alone is on a monthly basis is about 1.6 trillion naira. Okay. And so year-to-date return for FMDQ is about 13.75%, and that's higher than inflation rate of 13.5%. So while FMDQ is giving a positive return, on the equity side they're getting negative return. So the thing is that the loss in the equity segment is being compensated by the gain in the bonds market. Both the capital market is both equities and bonds. So what is happening in the equities market now is, as I said, more due to uncertainty. And when there is uncertainty, investors would prefer a safer asset class, and that safer asset class that guarantees you, steady interest payment, of course, with the bonds.
There was this expectation that when the telecom giants were coming into the stock market, they were going to see activities pick up. Yes. But we didn't really get to see.
No, it's too early.
It was short-lived.
No, it's too early to draw that conclusion. At least we saw after MTN came. MTN was, don't forget, listed at 19 in naira, by introduction. Today is around 129. Okay, and Airtel, Airtel Africa has also, listed, and we're also expecting that the other telecom companies will join. What I'm saying is, what is happening now is just temporary. As soon as the fog clears, okay, I expect this market to rebound. The next few weeks, once the cabinet is formed and the capital component of the budget kicks in, I am optimistic that the equities market will rebound, because what we find now is that even the foreign portfolio investments we are getting, the foreign investments are more in fixed income, as I said earlier on. The equity segment will pick up as soon as some of these triggers we expect to happen in the economy come to place.
So can you let us in on the capital market master plan? How is it performing, and what are those success stories we can pick from that master plan?
Well, a good number of initiatives in that plan, have been accomplished. One of which is the dematerialization of certificates. These days, people no longer carry physical certificates. Of course, the e-dividend, the thing we talked about, is also an integral part of that, of that plan. And there is also the direct cash settlement. These are some of the confidence building measures that you find, being implemented. Direct cash settlement is such that whenever your shares are sold, the cash no longer, the money is no longer paid through a broker, but it hits your account directly. So it's a confidence building measure. And you notice that even if you look at the literacy component, that is also ongoing. As I speak to you, the Commission has gone very far in its effort to introduce capital market studies in the curriculum of secondary schools. And we're also trying to see how we can also get that for tertiary institutions. And you will agree with me, by the time we have the curriculum, of secondary schools and universities incorporating capital market studies, it will go a long way in improving, boosting capital market literacy, in the country. And for Islamic products, I don't need to, tell you, the sukuk, has been, quite successful. Each time the government issues sukuk, is usually oversubscribed. So that's also getting attention. So the capital market master plan, I can tell you, is on track, is on course. It's also interesting to point out that as we speak, there's also, an ongoing effort to review it, and bring it up to date with the current realities.
Okay, thank you very much for. So I will pause you there until we come your way again. Thank you, Professor Owaleke.
My pleasure.
Moving on now, as Nigeria continues to expand trade, raise revenues, and diversify the economy, the federal government, through the Ministry of Budget and National Planning and Afri-Japan Africa-Asia International Corporation, have signed an agreement for the establishment of the Africa-Asia Development Agency in Nigeria to further strengthen trade and bilateral relationship between Nigeria and Japan, as well as other Asian countries. The agency, since its inception in 2009, had its headquarters in Abuja, Ivory Coast. However, the headquarters is to be relocated to Nigeria in view of the fact that Nigeria is best placed to attract investors from across the world.
Japan Africa-Asia is a development agency specifically established through collaboration of various Asia and Pacific countries made up of Japan, China, South Korea, India, Malaysia, among others, to contribute towards the development of Africa.
When China will wake up, the world will tremble. But here and now, I do declare and attest on this solemn day that when Nigeria will wake up, the world will run to Africa.
Key players say when fully established, the headquarters will help ensure food security, build infrastructure, and introduce new food production technology industries, amongst others. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has advised motorists and other petroleum products consumers to disregard rumors of a planned hike in the pump price of petrol, saying the statement of the Group Managing Director Malam Melekiari at the Assembly did not suggest any plan to increase the price of the product. NNPC Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Mr. Ndu Hamadu, clarified that the NNPC GMD was speaking during an engagement with the Senate President, Senator Ahmed Lawan, where he stated that the price of fuel was low in Nigeria compared to what was obtained in neighboring African countries, and was calling for support of the leadership of the National Assembly to curb the malaise of smuggling. He advised Nigerians to disregard the insinuation of the planned hike in the price of petrol by NNPC, as the NNPC was not even in a position to regulate the price of petroleum products. Nigeria's crude oil production rose to 1.97 million barrels per day, its highest since January 2015. Data from SP Global Platts reveals the country's output was buoyed by the Egina deepwater oil field, which started production 6 months ago and is already pumping close to its capacity of 200,000 barrels per day. The June figure was 110,000 barrels per day rise from May, as none of Nigeria's crude export grades are currently on the force majeure. Now, gold gains on U.S.-China trade tensions rate cuts hopes. Let's see how commodities are faring. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, says it will maintain its forecast for global economic growth in 2019 at 3.2% since it does not expect trade disputes to escalate further. OPEC's position is contained in its monthly report issued on Thursday, which states that the global GDP growth forecast for 2019 remains at 3.2%, followed by expected growth of 3.2% in 2020. Although large uncertainties remain, current growth forecasts assume no further downside risk, and in particular that trade relations issues do not escalate further. And the losing streak continues in the Nigerian stock market on Friday, a day after the bourse recorded its biggest decline since March. Market indicators and values of shares depreciated at the close of trade to end the week in red. The all-share index lost 0.5% to close at 28,566.79 basis points on Friday, with market capitalization at 13.9 trillion naira. Investors exchanged 100.3 million shares valued at 1.4 billion naira in 2,707 deals. The day's performance was driven by gains in Cement Company of Northern Nigeria, UAC Nigeria, and Access Bank. In Asian stocks edged up as investors await Chinese trade data just as Singapore GDP misses expectations. Boss Dable has details.
China's dollar-denominated as export fell 1.3% in June from a year ago, while import fell 7.3% in the same period, the country's Customs Department reported on Friday. The data from Beijing came after U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping agreed at the Group of 20 summit in Japan that they would not, in the near term, implement any more tariffs against each other's countries. However, the two economic giants remain at an impasse in their trade dispute, prompting fears of an economic slowdown globally due to the disruption in supply chains. Stocks in Asia for 12 July were mostly higher, although China's trade with the U.S. declined in the first half of the year amid stoppage between the two economic giants. Nikkei closed 0.2% higher at 21,685.9. Shanghai Composite up 0.44% to 2,930.55, and the Hang Seng Index added 0.14% as of its final hour of trading. European stocks were higher in early trading as investors reacted to new Chinese trade data. DAX increased 0.1%, FTSE 0.31%, and CAC 40 0.49%. U.S. stock index futures were slightly higher in early trading amid optimism rooted in expectations of a Federal Reserve rate cut later this month. Dow Jones Industrial Average indicated a positive open of more than 85 points. Futures on the S&P and Nasdaq were both seen higher. African stocks were mixed. South Africa's JSA Top 40 appreciated 0.45%, Nairobi all share 0.13%, while Tunisia's Tunidex, Namibia Overall Index, and Ghana's GSA Composite were negative.
Thanks, boss, and that brings us to the end of this edition of Business Express. Remember, you can access all previous episodes on YouTube, and you can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizExp. Business Express returns Monday. I am Leah Katun Babatunde saying, keep thinking and doing business.